Welcome to West Wing Week.
Welcome to a special American in Paris edition of your West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and beyond. This week, the President traveled to Paris, France, to speak with world leaders and lead a global effort to confront climate change, as well as partner with the private sector to spur innovative clean energy growth. And when he got back home, it was time to kick off the holiday season, and the White House was all decked out for the occasion. That's November 27th to December 3rd, or Fromage!
Oh, Fromage!
On Friday, the First Lady, along with Beau and Sonny, welcomed the White House Christmas tree, a Fraser fir.
Good with it?
Meanwhile, hundreds of volunteers prepared the White House for the magical holiday season. On Small Business Saturday, the President and his daughters did some holiday shopping at a local bookstore, Upshur Street Books. And for a quick treat on the way home, they stopped by a local favorite, Pleasant Pops, for popsicles. On Sunday morning, the President boarded Air Force One en route Paris, France, where he would attend a summit of leaders from nearly 200 nations who had gathered to address the threat of climate change. The President landed after midnight and went straight to the Bataclan, the concert venue where the most lives were lost during the terrible Paris terrorist attacks. On Monday morning, the President and his delegation drove to Le Bourget, where he spent a busy day with world leaders working on a deal to address climate change on a global scale. There, he also held two bilateral meetings, first with President Xi Jinping of China, and later with Prime Minister Modi of India.
Paris to protect planet. Thank you.
There you go. I understood that.
He also addressed the summit's opening session on the need to confront climate change.
As one of America's governors has said, we are the first generation to feel the impact of climate change and the last generation that can do something about it.
Later, in the Nelson Mandela Auditorium, the President announced Mission Innovation, a public and private sector project to invest in clean energy research and development.
Mission Innovation will help deliver affordable clean energy and new jobs and opportunities to people around the world for decades to come.
Following in the European tradition, the President attended a late dinner hosted by President Hollande of France in Paris's historic Marais neighborhood. Tuesday's agenda was filled with more meetings, first with President Erdogan of Turkey and his delegation at the U.S. Ambassador's residence in Paris. Then the President got to meet with embassy staff and their kids.
Thank you, guys.
And later, the U.S. hosted a meeting with leaders of small island nations, countries that are seeing firsthand the effects of climate change and must already be preparing for the consequences.
Their populations are among the most vulnerable to the ravages of climate change. Their voice in these negotiations will be absolutely vital.
Then it was lights, camera, action as the President sat down for an interview with French journalist Laura Heim of Canal Plus.
Regardless of your religious faith, the essence of a good life is not what you can destroy, but what you can build.
The President's final event of the day before flying home was a news conference where he answered questions about the Turkish border with Syria, our campaign to degrade and ultimately destroy ISIL, and both the threat and opportunity posed by climate change.
Now, the fact of the matter is there's a reason why you have the largest gathering of world leaders probably in human history here in Paris. Everybody else is taking climate change really seriously. They think it's a really big problem.
Then it was time for the President and his staff to head home, leaving behind a delegation of Americans to continue the work with other nations to finalize the details of the climate deal. On Thursday morning, the President delivered a statement about the senseless shooting in San Bernardino, California. Later, the President participated in one of his favorite quarterly activities, meeting with the season's class of interns, where he gets to put on his mentor hat and answer some questions.
Worry less about what you want to be. Worry more about what you want to do.
That evening, the First family kicked off the holiday season with the lighting ceremony for the National Christmas Tree on the White House Ellipse. So stay engaged with us on social media, and remember, you can find out more information about any of these topics and see complete videos of these events at whitehouse.gov. Thanks so much for checking out this special Hope in Climate Change edition of your West Wing Week.
You can smile in this picture only. Afterwards, Marines don't smile. We appreciate everything you guys do, all right? Keep up the great work. Have a good holiday. You guys have a good Thanksgiving?
Thanks, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah? Who cooked?
McDonald's, sir.
I hear they do a great turkey. Yeah.